program for the opening of Ron Shuebrook's exhibit. These are all watercolors.
Looks like that. I get that. Would you? I would love that. You know what?
It's going to be a conversation. Ron is going to have a conversation with his work, and hopefully you'll take the opportunity to become part of the dialogue.
James. Thank you. At the same time, there's, the whole question of improvisation, the practice, the performative part of making a painting, having more or less a kind of intention, but of course that doesn't guarantee anything. Right? You approach it, you try to make it, and just at this installation yesterday, I wasn't sure exactly what I would do. I wanted a sense of the same kind of deliberate but also informality and improvisation I have internally in each work. The exhibition starts with groupings of works that I was doing in 2004 that have a lot to do with some larger works. Generally speaking, my major works are they're large, but they are echoes of my body size. That is, when I stand up, I can reach to about 9 feet. And most
paintings,
these are paintings, and so in lots of ways they're kind of echoes of architecture. My body size. So I reach here, they're often 9 by 6 feet. That's what it is.
You're not going to...
Don't forget your
Romania,
So they seem to have little except a pairing situation. Formally, there's a kind of pairing number, and again, wanting that information, and I hope when one looks at titles, if one can read my writing, and it says Medici 1, Medici 2, Medici 3, Stupa. Well, Stupa was the name of the street that my partner and I lived in Florence, about a block away from Florentian Library, and another block around the corner from the Medici Palace. And these were, we were visiting there in January, I think in maybe the first day or second day we were in Florence, and I was interested in the tiles. Well, one could say, well, just interested in tiles. But like the interlooping relationships there had to be, and I need at this point in life, I wanted to have another layer of meaning as well. It's not an exercise in, let's a form unto itself as a way of visually perceiving. It is that, but it's also, what does it mean? What touch the luncheons? Then Bruce Carter. So we all wanted to be Bruce Carter. And he made great woodblocks, so all the males made these woodblocks. So that's an echo of that time, and I don't know where it came from. And well, I'll just leave it. I also have a really good friend, a Japanese-Canadian printmaker who we admire enormously. He's a treasure in Japan, but has lived outside of Toronto for 40 years. And she does these sort of contingent images of, she comes from a kind of knowing school where, she got her tool and attacks the wood and makes prints of conjunctions of. Sometimes the images are evocative, some are about color, about gesture, and sometimes they're an answer, And I realized when I was about halfway through here that this reminded me of some of her prints. Miyoko Matsubara, her name is. So I should stop there. And thank you so much for your interest in coming to see the work, and those of you who had conversation today, it was really a privilege. So thank you. Thank you. Deep Cove is just up the road. And often, how the cove is built, it is a deep cove. And the Germans supposedly used to come in there in World War II. And rates and way that more of those air side of the harbor. The other side, the light comes in, it's lit. That's what the memory of that experience. So that's sort of so that sort of movement by the way, and the other side of there are typos.
And we get up in the morning.
Well, James is very double windows. Double windows, which we don't live there most of the time, so the double windows the top windows are, let's say, kind of dirty. And you can't see through them as well as the open. So you have this scene is split. One is quite clear, the other has another kind of quality, which seems to be how I see it. It's not quite black and white, but they're moderated by that experience. So there are elements here in some of these that make reference to that, not just because that's the literal experience, but that seems to be a way to kind of capture, some element about how we live and how the world is done. If I go much longer, I'm going to be really pretentious. So I shouldn't say any more, but that kind of takes us up to the end. And so we did a little tour of where we've been traveling, where I lived, and each one. And I was just determined not to worry about the what was it? I don't know whether it was called a thesis, but that paper that I wrote for my M.Ed at Kutztown in 1968, when I was discussing systems theory and how logical it would be, and I had to work within this very strict regimen. And I was driven by that for decades, and I wouldn't allow myself to ever show anything that deviated from this nice logical thing. So I decided, I'm back after all these decades, and I thought I would just show a lot of deviation. So thank you.